Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Single Malt Strategy Podcast. This is episode number 77. And in today's podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about upcoming games in the year 2023 that we're excited with. I'm joined with my trusty co-host, Tortuga. How you doing today, Tortuga?
Wait, we're doing upcoming games of 2023? Wait, you got to give me a second. I got to go look some up.
This is sadly not far from the mark. We're also joined by a returning guest, Wolfpack. How are you doing today, Wolf?
I'm great doing some frantic Googling to see what's coming out this year.
You know, there's a lot coming out this year, and you know, hopefully it's a good year, but we're already about 1/12 of the way through the year, so, you know, better late than never. Before we get into the games we're excited about this year, though, why don't we just talk a little bit about what we're playing? What have you been playing lately? Have you been playing anything, Tortuga?
Well, yeah, I have. I've been playing the ever-loving crap out of a game called Icarus, which is it's just one of those survival games. It's got an interesting twist on that. It's not pure open world where you like drop in and continue to build up your base, and you know, eventually in most of those games I feel like you reach end game and you're like, oh, okay, I did it. Remember, I mean, all of us used to play Valheim, and we kind of got to the end game there, and it was like, well, we kind of feel like we've done it all. But this is very similar to Valheim, except for the premises you drop from a spaceship. It's a little bit weird. There's some story elements you have to kind of ignore, some plot holes, you might say. So you drop from a spaceship, but then you deploy on the ground without any tools. So you have to make a stone axe and stuff like that. You know, it's the usual progression. But the real difference with that one is that it's mission-based, actually. So you drop into the game, and the mission timer is like 24 real hours. I don't think it won't take you that long to do a mission, probably like 1 hour, right? But once you're done with the mission, all the base and all the work that you've put into it is gone. And you start a new mission. You basically start over from scratch, which I thought would be a super annoying mechanic. And they do have an open world version you can play if you want, if that sounds annoying. But I actually really enjoy it. Anyway, I've been playing way too much of this, and the only other game I played was... Well, okay, 2 games. I played a little bit more of Terra Invicta, and I played this Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign or whatever. You know, a game that came out in early access last month. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a less good version of a mix of like Total War, and kind of reminds me of like Hegemony 3 or the Hegemony series.
Less good? So is it not good? I mean, I know I had wanted to play that a bit, and I tried to get into it and got around, like I was looking at getting around to it, and everything I saw was basically that the AI was broken and the game was broken, so I couldn't muster up any energy to do it.
I don't know, man. So I just want to preface my entire mood going into this podcast. I feel like something broke in me in the last month. And I basically feel like so jaded by all the games there. Just such crap is getting released, and this is probably way too negative of a spin on the state of the industry, but I feel like something snapped, and like, yeah, I feel like all these games that I'm reviewing, they're all just a bunch of crap.
Wow.
Okay.
No, I mean, I feel like I've forced myself to play one too many games that just weren't really, they were in early access, and you know, I'm sure that people, it's like an interesting cycle, right? Where they release an early game, but they want the game to get some traction, probably so they can have funding to continue to develop. So, you know, they go to people like myself, yourselves, and they say, hey, can you please look at this game? And then I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure. I'd rather let someone else look at it first. But okay, I'm going to go ahead and invest time into learning it. And then I hate it. And then I don't know what to do, because I'm like, I don't really want to put up a video on a game I hate, because I don't really want to smear these companies. God knows, maybe they deserve it, but it's not my style. And then I just slowly hate the video game industry more. We're not publishing this podcast, right?
Yeah, cut that.
This is all
cut
just...
that, please.
Well, you haven't outed anyone yet. I'm curious who broke you, but for the moment, we'll turn away from Tortuga.
Yeah, someone else. Let someone else talk, for the love of God.
Wolf, what are you hating? I mean, not hating. What are you playing lately?
I've been hating playing video games the past couple of months. No, I'm just kidding. I really have not been playing games all that much. When I have played, it's been like co-op games. Like, I don't know if any of you have heard of Deep Rock Galactic. It's like a first-person shooter. You go in, you do some mining. You play as little dwarves. It's pretty fun. Did you say you heard of that, Tortuga?
Yeah, I was kind of interested in it. Yeah, I mean, is it one of those like 4-person co-op ones?
Yeah, you can play with less people, and I have played with less people, but yeah, it's quite a bit of fun with friends. It's just kind of, I guess, relatively relaxing, and you don't have to think too hard, which I guess I can appreciate right now. And then the other, I guess, another first-person shooter game I've been playing was the new Warhammer 40k game, Darktide. I was playing that a good amount previously. I haven't played too much recently, but I was enjoying that when it came out, despite some of its like server issues and all that. And for those of you that don't know, that's similar to Left 4 Dead, where it's just like you're slashing through hordes and whatnot. You have little objectives you have to take care of, and I don't know, it's good, mindless fun, I feel.
Well, what about you, Matt? Let us know. What have you been playing?
Well, I don't know that I've come to the conclusion that I hate gaming, but I haven't been playing a whole lot. I guess the game I've been playing a lot lately, or the most, I guess, and it's only like 3 hours in the last 2 weeks, is FIFA 23. So
wow,
yeah, I guess the World Cup got me in a little bit of a soccer mood, and so I've been or football or whatever, and so I've been playing that a bit. Welcome to Wrexham is good fun too. So
it's amazing. Just this podcast, our most anticipated games from 3 people who have not been playing games very much.
I don't know if we're transitioning to that already. By the way, I just want to say one more time, despite my negative view on a lot of things.
Here comes the damage control.
No, actually, I just want to really praise Icarus. Icarus has stole so much time. I love the hell out of that game. It's probably had I played it and had it come out last year, it would have been my game of the year. I mean, I'm more of a strategy gamer, but that aside, why is it okay? I thought it was just me, but it sounds like it's you guys as well. There doesn't seem to be a lot of hype about games in 2023, and there's a couple exceptions for me. There's definitely a few games I'm looking forward to. But in 2022, I remember my list was just so long and that my anticipation was so great. And, I mean, here we are at the the beginning of 2023, and I feel like 2022 pulled through. It had some good titles. Why is it because I already was so satisfied by the good releases in 2022? It's hard to have 2 back-to-back great years, right?
You thought 2022 was a great year?
I don't know that I would agree that 2022 was a great year. So,
oh, that's right. You were the one on the podcast who said you weren't sure about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you. So I said I didn't have a top game of the year, and you were like, "Well, then whatever number 2 is number 1." And I guess my thought process was to rise to number 1, you've got to have like a certain threshold you've got to cross, and nothing did for the year.
Well, can we stop real fast and just ask Wolf? Because Wolf, you weren't on the podcast for the review of 2022. What did you think? What's your quick synopsis of the last year? Was it a good year, bad year?
I guess fine. It not great, but not bad.
Yes, thank you.
I wouldn't say there was so much coming out that was super exciting. I mean, I think a lot of the games on my most anticipated list when I was on this podcast last didn't even come out. I think it was 50-50. Some of them did into early access, and then some have not.
So, Wolf, the way I described last year was it was a year that had a lot of good, but no great.
Yeah, I mean, there are some great things that did come out, like Gunner Heat PC that came out, and I am having a blast with that. Well, it released on Steam, so there's that, but it's in early access still, and they're still working on it. So
that was a game, and I haven't. It's not in my list, but that was a game that I was debating putting on the list for this year because I felt like there wasn't enough of it out yet last year to sort of qualify, if you will. It was still too early in early access, but based on what I had seen, I am really excited about where that will go over the next 12 months, and by the end of this year, my hope was that it would be in a more fully fledged state, so I could wholeheartedly say it was a top game of 2023, but we'll see.
Yeah, so last year, not great, not terrible, That's how I would sum it up.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that we have you along to really take a decisive viewpoint, not just sit on the fence. Thanks, Wolf.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's the 3.2 Rodkin episode of of podcasts or whatever that was.
Yeah, in Chernobyl. Yeah, I'm just channeling my inner Comrade Dyatlov.
But it's actually terrible. We just don't know it because we don't, our sensors only go up so far.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so what I'm really saying is last year was the worst thing imaginable.
The Chernobyl of game years.
It really wasn't that bad. It was just kind of, I don't know, nothing super exciting came out.
I personally thought it was a good year.
I'll say I'm more excited about this year than you guys. I'm more excited about 2023.
Well, okay, this is my thoughts. I have like 2 games that I'm really looking forward to, and then I know about several other games that I don't have that much enthusiasm for, and I hope that this is just a mood thing of the day, and hopefully tomorrow I wake up and I'm like, God, I can't wait for those games to come out. But I don't think it's going to happen.
So I literally have like a list of 15 games that I'm pretty genuinely excited about.
15?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about them all in this episode. I'm just saying there's like 15 games that I'm sort of...
And that's why you have gamer in your handle. And we do not.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
Yeah.
And I will also add that's like excluding things like Sea Power, which I've talked about in previous years, because I'm in the same boat where like most of my list last year didn't even come out last year.
Yeah.
And what I hate doing is doing lists and then being like, all right, well, this game didn't come out last year, so do I put it in the list again next year because it might come out?
I say no.
And I generally don't.
Okay, well...
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, well, okay, just to go ahead and say it, Sea Power is my #1 anticipated game, so I put it on my list again.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, and I figured if it didn't come out this year, which I think it will, but if it didn't, then you know what I would do? Absolutely nothing. And next podcast, I'll bring it up again.
Yeah, just plagiarize yourself for next time.
Yeah.
This actually Wolf isn't live recording right now. This is just, we pulled footage from last year and we're just putting it in this year.
Oh, that would be funny, actually. No, but I am convinced Sea Power will come out today.
Today?
Or this year, not today.
I think we should just jump in, and we got a lot of stuff to cover.
Okay, well...
Do you want to go... I mean, he already mentioned Wolf already ruined everything. We had it all planned out.
I totally skipped ahead on the draft here.
Let this guy on the podcast. No, Wolf, that's totally fine. We're completely okay with that. He's not invited back.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you're gone too, Tortuga, Mr. All games suck.
I just feel like we need a dissenting viewpoint. Keep things really balanced on this.
Yeah, that's how podcasts stay alive and keep viewers. Through conflict.
Yeah, conflict.
That's true. Just give me a second. I'm going to write in the notes here. PR representatives, do not listen to this episode.
If you're a publisher, just know I do not associate with Mr. Tortuga Power's views here.
I loved all their games. I loved, the person who's listening, I loved their company's games. I just didn't like the other ones. So it's actually a good thing for them because they're like, wow, this guy's telling it like how it is, except for our games, which are great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I love that.
I even got 5 DLCs in here too.
Look, I'm gonna jump right in on top of Wolf and just say my #1 most anticipated game.
Whoa, we're going all the way to first?
Who cares? He already started. Just gonna go with it.
Chaos.
#1 is Manor Lords.
Oh yeah.
I want Manor Lords. It's basically the only thing I'm really, really excited about. And I played the demo at the end of last year. Was it November? I think it came out. And I loved it. I can't wait for this game. I can't believe that the demo was... It's like the demo was better than half the games I've played. Come on, give me demos. Just everything about the game is impressive, by the way. The development story, the development team, the game itself. I don't want to... Yeah, I don't want to build myself up too much. Because I've been let down before. I've been hurt. But this one I'm really excited for. #1 from Manor Lords. I would actually blanket recommend it, that everyone check it out. I don't know if they'll have another demo period or something like that. Did you guys play the demo, by the way?
Unfortunately, I didn't play it. I watched quite a bit of footage, and it definitely interests me, and I totally forgot about it. So you bringing it up, that's exciting. I'm going to make sure I add this to my list.
Yeah, so it's definitely the one I'm looking forward to, and they're excited. There's maybe at least one other one that I'm pretty excited about that will also not surprise people. Tishi, did you play Manor Lords? Do you know about it at all?
I didn't, but it is in that list of 15 games that I'm looking forward to this year. So I'm aware of it. I've seen some footage of it. I think it looks really awesome, but I didn't play the demo, and I think I debated playing it, and I was kind of like, all right, I got a bunch of other things I'm playing right now. I'm going to hold off and kind of leave my experience, let it be pure when it does come out, and I'll experience it then.
Yeah, I mean, normally that's the way to do things. I think that's kind of like one of the take-home points from my burnout on games is that I need to stop playing things in early access. But yeah, this one happened to be exciting even in the demo pre-early access period. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of games to get through, so I don't think we need to spend much more time on it. Probably not a surprise to people that they're hearing about Manor Lords, but I am very excited about it. So do you want to say your number one, Tishi? You can work backwards if you want. I mean,
I guess.
Yeah, you can save yours for last. I mean, you're the face of this here program, so.
No. All right. Wow. Really? Okay. Well, I'll go with my number one here. The Great War Western Front. It is a strategy and tactical war game that's being made by Petroglyph Games. If you don't know who Petroglyph is, they were founded by, I believe, some folks from Westwood, which is the studio that made Close Combat.
No way. Do you know who? Ed Del Castillo?
I don't know. I should ask. I was in they invited me for this game to do like a kind of like a digital convention where like you got access to the game like remoted in through other workstations and got to play it for a bit. So I was with some folks from Petroglyph in that. And they also made like Star Wars Empire at War, I think, way back when.
Wow. Really?
So like they have a pretty strong resume, if you will. They did the remaster of the Close Combat games a couple of years ago as well. But I'm really excited about the Great War Western Front. It is it's a tactical and strategy game. Everything I've seen about it is pretty damn cool. They have this strategic layer basically on the Western Front in World War I, where you have to allocate resources, do R&D, basically decide where your effort is going to be on the front, and then when you actually decide you want to launch an offensive, or when your opponent launches an offensive against you, then you go and you fight a battle on a tactical map. They also have, I believe, up to 6 historical battles as well, which can be fought on tactical maps. And I think it looks great. Obviously trenches and all that stuff in the game. When I was playing through it, it was a preview of Passchendaele, the second battle of Passchendaele. And I remember it's like, all right, well, I'll throw these guys over the trench and everybody gets slaughtered. And it's like, okay, that I guess that's realistic. And then I start looking through, well, how am I gonna approach attacking these trenches? And it was kind of like, well, there's this rolling barrage trait you can use, which basically means you can have artillery slowly creep across no man's land. Doesn't do a lot of damage to the enemy, but your troops can sort of advance behind it under cover, if you will. They also have observation balloons that you can raise or lower. When they're raised, they increase your line of sight, but they're vulnerable to enemy aircraft, and you can have your own aircraft. Like, I could go through all the details of it. It is, all I can say is I played it for like an hour in this event, and I was absolutely floored by just the tactical battle side of things. And I'm really excited to play this when it comes out. Every trailer looks interesting. It looks like they're going to mirror the strategic and the tactical side well. The trenches look and feel, from my point of view, right. And I guess, I think my main concern is, do they do a good job of making the strategic side of the game as strong as the tactics side of the game? And like, how does that marriage work? But generally speaking, I'm really excited about this game, and it's definitely my most anticipated.
Yeah, this is one I'm keeping my eye on too. It made my list of honorable mentions, one of the many. It looks pretty good. I'm a big fan of that like Total War system where you have the strategic map you're controlling that influences tactical stuff. Good stuff. Also, I'm always happy to see another game on World War One. I feel like there's been quite a few coming out, maybe in the last decade or so. But otherwise, I generally feel it's a neglected historical category.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that. We've already talked about you, Wolf. You already told us what your most anticipated game is. What's your...
My least?
At least.
You want my least anticipated game next? Oh man, I'm on. Okay, this one's. I'm just going to go for the curveball here. I'm excited for the new Stalker game, which is actually developed by Ukrainian developers. It's like a Stalker 2. It's a first-person shooter set like in the Chernobyl area after another disaster. It's a pretty pretty niche franchise, I suppose. It's like a cult classic, I guess you would call the other games, but this looks like a pretty good entry into the series again, and it looks like a fun world. Looks like something different. I like the gunplay. Gunplay looks good. So
I didn't know that was coming out next year, actually. First of all, I have to ask, did you play... You must have played some of the original...
Barely any. I want to actually go and play them, but...
They're kind of hard to get into. They're difficult, and especially because they're difficult and they probably didn't age that well. I remember they were challenging games.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the amount of modding that modders have done to these games has kind of made it like intimidating to get into, which is fun. It's like what Silent Hunter is now, right? I mean, there's just so much out there to mod and change. It's like, oh, well, where do I start to have a good experience and all that good stuff? So I guess that's the reason I haven't played any of the previous games. It's just the amount of research I'd have to do, and I've felt kind of lazy. So, but yeah, looks like fun, looks different. May hopefully itch my Tarkov itch, because I like Escape from Tarkov, but the multiplayer aspect of that's a bit much for me right now. That's my curveball game. That one was at the bottom of my list just because it's different.
From the top to the bottom and somewhere in between.
Yeah, I'm a crazy man.
I don't know Wolf's kind of creativity, so I'm just going to stick with going down the line. Number 2 for me, Kerbal Space Program 2. I think everyone knows that this is going to be released. Not a big surprise. I think that, unfortunately, that a lot of people are expecting... I mean, I think I, as well, am expecting good things out of this, and it's been in development for, like, God knows, like 7 years or something? Something ridiculous number. So expectations are pretty high, I think. Even if I go in and... I mean, they could have just done some kind of nice thing to Kerbal Space Program, the original, and I probably would have been happy with it. I think they did much more than that. And this is the problem. I hope they've done much more than that, because it's been so long. It's like that whole... Yeah, you guys have been in that situation where you like tell your boss, no, I'm going to have it. Just give me one more day. And you hadn't started yet, so then you're like, I just need to buy myself a little bit of time. But then you're like, oh shit, now that it's one more day, I need to do like one more day's worth of quality of work, like in his eyes. And
nope.
You keep burying yourself for like, I need more time. But then when I have more time, they expect more out of it.
Do they?
Well, that's how I feel about Kerbal Space Program 2.
I mean, I've definitely been in the I need one more day. I don't know that I'm usually in the situation where it's like, oh, it's got to be that much better though.
It's just showing off Tortuga's work ethic over here.
I was just people told me that happened to them, and I was using that.
Tortuga's the kid in school who's like, man, I did so bad on that test, and then he ends up getting an A, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, Tortuga, all right, you did so bad.
I'm pretty excited for KSP 2 as well. I actually wasn't following it too much. I didn't realize it was coming out in February.
Oh, shit.
That's way sooner than I thought. Yeah, that's exciting.
End of February, I think. February.
Yeah, February 24th.
That was not on my list either, but definitely should be.
That's exciting. Well, I had a space game on my list called Reentry, which I think is going to be going out of early access.
By the way, how do we... Early access has made this whole thing very confusing to me. Like, are we supposed to be doing games that are being released or released in early access? I kind of feel like when they're released in early access, I'll probably just talk about them then.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I think that the release of games, like, is just... I don't know what the right word is. Like, perfunctory. It just basically just doesn't mean anything. It's just the changing of a number on their version. But basically, early access is like the first wave of people playing it. I feel like that's the most impactful thing, and basically what the release really is nowadays.
Yes and no. I don't know. I feel like it depends on the game. I don't know that there's a clean break for me. I'll use Gunner Heat PC as an example of that. When it came out, like, Wolf, what were there, like 10 scenarios in it? And the campaign was nominally there, but like if you look at what they claim the game is going to be, you know, versus what was there.
Yeah, I guess the difference with Gunner Heat PC is they gave you the vertical slice of like what the core gameplay loop is going to be like. And then they had a very reasonable roadmap of what things they're going to add. And I think that makes it better. And the roadmap they're sticking to, which is also helpful, as opposed to an early access game like U-Boat, which they said was going to release out of early access last year. And now they're saying it'll release out of early access this year.
I just don't understand the difference, right? Like, what's the difference? What does releasing from early access even mean to people? It almost means nothing to me.
Yeah, it means nothing. Yeah, and really, I guess.
Well, it's different for every game. I guess my point is I wouldn't necessarily say that. By the way, Re-Entry looks cool. I'm watching the...
Yeah, it's fun.
Watching the trailer for it right now.
Is Re-Entry the one you were playing a long time ago that does track IR and all that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. And I know, like, once they release, like, they have Apollo, Gemini, Mercury, but I know they want to do some of the Soviet capsules later on, which I'm kind of excited for. But I believe that's all, like, post-launch.
So, but we should briefly just say what it is, maybe.
Yeah, it's a orbital simulator. It simulates, like, the Gemini capsules and, like, Apollo capsules, so you can do rendezvous in space with, what's that? The Gemini mission where they rendezvous.
The Agena.
Agena, yes, thank you. But yeah, it's all of that. It's like Orbiter, if you know what Orbiter is.
Would it be fair to call it like DCS for space?
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Speaking of DCS, not to like get totally off our shtick, but I thought I saw something about there being like a dynamic campaign engine that Eagle Dynamics is working on.
Yeah, they've been working on that for a while, but I think they're pushing it, like talking about it a little bit more recently. Here's hoping that turns out well, because that is what DCS needs.
And that was on my list of like one of the games that I don't know that it's a game, but like a module for DCS that so there's two things that prevent me from getting as much into DCS as some folks. One, the rivet counting can be a little bit overwhelming at times. Like I do think there's a place, and I think Gunner Heat PC fits that place, for sim games that are not like overwhelmingly focused on, I don't know if realism is the right word, but like fidelity of the simulation above everything else. Like I think there's a space in the sim genre for, hey, I want to play a sim, but I don't want to have to like learn how to frickin' cold start and, you know, an F-18 or whatever and know every single button to push.
I'm going to get crucified by some of the DCS players for this, but in DCS, there's my favorite keybind is left Windows home, and that auto starts the aircraft.
Ooh.
So they go through the checklist, and you don't have to touch a goddamn thing, and I love it so much. I'm with you. I don't care about cold starts. I could actually care less. To me, that's not what's fun. What's fun is actually flying about. I get some people want to run through a checklist, but... Well,
and I guess where I was going with it is more just that, like, I feel like there are times that the simulation community hurts itself in terms of outreach to new players because they make the barrier to entry so daunting, and they put so much pressure on developers to cater to their particular interest of making the barrier of entry so daunting that it kind of shrinks the potential audience. And I think Gunner Heat PC deliberately doesn't do that, and I think there is a space for games like that are sort of like, I don't know if entry level is the right word, because it's not like it's an easy game to master, especially if you play the German equipment or the Soviet equipment in the German hands. But I guess I'm hopeful that the sim community does more outreach, generally speaking, and DCS I don't think has been typically as a community great at that. These are my views, not Wolf's, but I am excited. So that's one thing that's held me back from getting too far into DCS. And the other thing is just like, I feel like without a dynamic campaign, it's kind of a dead world. Like I'm not super interested in just jumping in and playing random individual scenarios. I'm someone who wants there to be kind of, if not an implicit story, at least a story I can kind of infer. And I think dynamic campaigns do that. And so I'm very interested in if they create a dynamic campaign within DCS that is not like a mod that like players make. That could be something that would really cause me to go into it pretty hard. I loved Falcon 4.0 for that very reason.
Yeah, I'm with you. I recently was actually playing Falcon just for the Falcon 4 for the dynamic campaign, and I was using the mod Falcon BMS. And that dynamic campaign is awesome. There's another YouTuber called Enigma, and he recently uploaded a video about Falcon. And did you know that whole dynamic campaign engine was apparently made by like an intern?
No, did not.
Yeah.
No way. That's awesome.
Which is it's just hilarious to me.
That's wild.
So anyway, but yeah, I hope DCS can. I hope Eagle Dynamics can pull through and make a pretty cool dynamic campaign generator. That's my dream. I'd sink so much more time into DCS if, like you said, there was a living, breathing world, and hopefully the campaign generator will bring that.
Atsushi, did you already say your number 2? I can't remember.
No, what did I? No, I don't think I did. So I guess it's up to me now to talk about the second most anticipated game. I guess I would put Ultimate General American Revolution on here.
That's coming? That's still a thing?
Oh, this is good.
So this is in danger of being one of those things that's on the list, and then like 2 years later it still isn't out yet, because we have not seen like basically anything about it since
2020, I think, is the last I heard about it.
I don't even remember what his name is anymore. History Guy Gaming, but now he's vlogging through History Gaming. Anyway, he did like a video on this. I think one of his followers, actually they commented on my most anticipated video that I did on this. But basically someone found this website. It was like UGS1775 or something.com. And it's actually Ultimate General American Revolution. And like nothing has come out since that website was uncovered. And the reason I say uncovered is it's not like something that like Game Labs was pushing. They didn't tweet about it. They didn't talk about it. It was just like random person finds a website online somehow. Then people realize, oh, this is a thing. And it looks from the website, what they talked about was it looks pretty cool. It looks like, you know, there's a strategic map kind of in the vein of Total War. Armies move around on that map in real time. When they collide on the map, then you fight a tactical battle. And it's looking at the American Revolution. So it looks like they're trying to make a game that is more dynamic in the campaign as opposed to the previous Ultimate General games where it was very much just like scripted battles. You're going to fight each battle when it historically was fought and with roughly the same size forces as historically existed, and really the only ability that you can do anything to customize stuff is just you build your own units and you customize your order of battle, but like other than that everything is sort of wrote down on this list and you just follow it. Whereas Ultimate General American Revolution looks to be trying to break away from that mold and be more dynamic, and so that's really cool. There's a bunch of stuff we could talk about it for a while.
I don't think we need to.
What?
I don't think it's coming out this year.
Well, so here's the reason it's on the list is they started posting screenshots in the Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail Discord about it about 2 months ago, like just out of the blue for no reason. No one was asking about it. It's not even the Discord for, I don't even know if they have an American Revolution game. But like in October, they started, they said they continue working hard on the American Revolution game. We haven't posted news for a long time. And then they posted a screenshot from a battle. And then a week after that, they posted 2 screenshots from the campaign map. And so, I don't know. I mean, like, there was no pressure, I don't think, to share this information. No one was asking for it, especially in this Discord. And they started sharing screenshots. So, to me, I'm hopeful that maybe this game will enter early access by the end of this year. But we'll see. I could be wrong. It might not be anywhere near close, but Game Labs tends to do early access on all of their games. Ultimate General games also tended to be like very far from complete. Like they kind of, I feel like they follow the Gunner Heat PC method where it's like the mechanics are there, but like the campaign is only like a shell of what it's going to be. So I'm hopeful that by the end of the year they have something to release, November timeframe. It wouldn't shock me if they do. It also wouldn't shock me if we're talking about this next year. That's my number 2 game on the list.
I'm more hopeful for that, although it's Game Labs. It is a different team, right, than the guys working on Dreadnoughts.
It is a different team from Dreadnoughts. I'm pretty certain, because again, it was posted by the individual who's like the designer, I want to say, for Age of Sail. Pretty certain, and also if you look at like the screenshots, it's pretty clear to me like they're reusing assets from Age of Sail. So I'm pretty certain it's the team that made Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail, which I had some reservations with that game, but the development of that game was much smoother than anything that Game Labs has done recently.
No, yeah, I agree. Poor Dreadnoughts.
I want to, it's every time I go back, it's just like, I don't care. Like this they kill.
It's like the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
If you're talking about games that have sort of jaded me a little bit, that would be one of them.
It's just so unfortunate. Like that game could be so, there's just so much. Like, I guess it's what gamers always say is like, oh, so much potential.
I also wonder if now at this point they're just layering more and more stuff on top of it to the point where it just becomes kind of a bit of a...
Oh, that game's dead to me. I mean, I wish I could get into it, but at this point, it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 45,000 times, and I'm not going to try anymore.
All right, this is the game that broke Tortuga. Have you tried since the campaign was something you could play around with?
Yeah, okay, I tried briefly when the campaign was first released, and it was like in a really shitty state, so of course that also continued to...
Just like the North Sea and whatever.
Yeah, and it was like, you couldn't win, the war was unwinnable. It was just persistent war. Like nothing would happen. It was just yet again another glimpse of this great potential. But yeah, at some point I stopped. I played it one more time after that, and then I uninstalled. And I might as well just delete the CD key. I probably will never install it again.
All right.
I was loved as a child, by the way. Just, I mean, people might be wondering. I'm not that angry of a person.
Yeah. What actually broke Tortuga was the game Life. Played that last night with his kids and just snapped.
I was loved as a child.
It's just like, yeah.
Man, this is verging into some real copium over here. I was loved as a child.
Did you know, by the way, that Homeworld 3 is coming out this year? That wasn't my number 3, but I was on my...
That'd be good if it was.
No. I mean, I would like it to be, but I don't know enough about it, first of all. And honestly, Homeworld 3 has like extreme potential to disappoint because Homeworld 1 and 2 were so good. It's very... I mean, how can they do it? I just like... I probably would... If I was the design team for Homeworld 3, I would have been like, let's just not call it Homeworld 3.
Did you play Deserts of Karak? The spin-off game?
Deserts of Karak. Well, that was the one on the planet, right?
Yeah.
I did not, but I want to. Did I buy it? I think I bought it the other day.
Yeah, I think I actually own it too, and it's one that I've been like, man, I kind of want to play this before the new one comes out, but haven't gotten around to it.
So yeah, Homeworld 3 is on that list. Just thought I'd shout that out.
Out of curiosity, before we move on, can you share anything about the Homeworld series? I've never played it.
Oh my gosh, it's okay. The original Homeworld, the first mission or second mission and whatever, there's like a big event. After 20 years, is it okay we spoil things? The planet is destroyed, and it is the single most dramatic, most like shocking moment of gaming narrative that I can remember from my entire gaming history. It was awesome. Actors were perfect. I mean, it was just so impactful. So Homeworld was just really about having a great strategy game. A little bit difficult because it's really true space. You can do 3D, and that's hard to manage. But they did it really well. But I mean, it's basically like Command and Conquer in space, as far as like what does the gameplay boil down to. But the thing which made it really special was the narrative. It's an amazing narrative. Extremely good story. Probably you can get like something out of it just going back, and if there's like a cinematic only YouTube video or something about it, probably somebody has done something like that. I would rewatch that even. It would be, I mean, chills, man. I mean, it's really extremely well polished, and it's like great acting.
Well, I'll have to take a look at. So do you think it holds up as something worth taking a look at, even the earlier games in the series now?
Yes, because they remastered it about 4 years ago. They redid it, and they repolished everything. I think it would be worth... I would recommend it as something that if you have time. And I haven't actually spoiled too much about the plot or anything, so you can kind of be... there's like a lot of different things that happen. They put some effort into the actual story, the actual plot. And I already kind of spoiled this. The original Homeworld is gone, so now you're moving. In the original, you're trying to move the entire population to a new planet, to a new homeworld. So every mission, if you get really invested in the role-playing aspect of it, you're carrying the entire people. Everyone left of your species is on the like mothership.
It's like that Matt Damon movie Titan AE.
I don't remember that, but sure.
Okay. Cool. Well, it sounds interesting.
What about you, THG?
Are we doing my third? Did everybody else say their third already?
Did I say my third?
Yeah, no, we didn't say your third. What was yours?
I don't. I have a hard time ranking any of these games. That's kind of part of my thing. But you know what? For the next game I'll talk about, it's Modern Naval Warfare. I'm pretty sure I brought this one up last time. They're being published by Slytherin. It's pretty much, I would just say, a spiritual successor to Dangerous Waters, which is a realistic, modern submarine simulation.
Do we think that's going to come out this year?
I'm pretty sure. I think. Maybe. Fingers crossed.
We really went through the whole wave of different certainties there. Yeah, for sure. It's, well, maybe. Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah, let me walk that one back real quick. Yeah. I hope so. I don't know, though. I mean, that's my thing. A lot of the games I'm really looking forward to, it's kind of like, a coin toss if they're actually going to release. Because they're getting close. The only one I'm fairly confident that's going to release that I've mentioned is Stalker and also Sea Power. I'm pretty sure that'll come out, but I'm not too sure about this one, but it's definitely something I'm really looking forward to because despite it's old, Dangerous Waters is kind of hard to play. It was fun when we played it, Tortuga, as a group. We should try to do that again, but...
Yeah, well, we tried to reinstall it. I remember who was hosting it. There was like a special person who was hosting it who got it to work multiplayer, and then...
Rie?
Yeah, and then we tried to do it on our own, and it didn't work, so we gave up.
We'll figure it out. Maybe. We'll see.
You are just all over the board on your level of certainty on everything, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty wishy-washy tonight. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I can be definitive on that. We're not going to figure it out, Wolf. We don't have time.
Okay. Yeah, Tortuga's like, I gotta wrap this thing up.
All right. I guess number 3 on my list. Oh, by the way, Tortuga, are you excited about Shadow Empire Oceania, the DLC?
No, not really.
Oh.
I'm surprised Tortuga hasn't even brought up Rule the Waves 3.
Yeah, you know what? That's intentional. I don't think that there's anything to be excited about with Rule the Waves 3. There, I said it there.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Oh my God, fire takes. Let's go. Let's hear it.
No, I mean, okay, look at it. When Rule the Waves 2 came out, it added carriers, right? Actually, carrier warfare, I kind of find tedious and difficult to do. The best part of the game, I'm at this might be a stretch, but when I talk to other people, at least on my Discord, I feel like this is actually the consensus too. It's a lot of fun to design carriers, but it's not a whole lot of fun to use them. The battles, the tactical battles, it's more fun minute by minute when you're like jockeying for the right range and all that. That kind of pre-carrier tactical combat is, it's really the sweet spot for Rule the Waves 2. And Rule the Waves 3 is, it's been acquired by, it's being published through Slytherin now, and they're going to roll back the time period 10 years earlier. So I don't even know how that's going to work, because in theory, you could have Age of Sail vessels in people's navies, and I don't know how they're going to swing that. They're probably just not going to use that and just say that everyone's using dreadnoughts by then.
To be fair, technically, you could say Age of Sail ships existed in 1900, and they didn't include it in the original game either.
Well, yeah, and even more so, I guess, if you go 10 years earlier.
Sure.
And the other thing they're adding is more like the missile warfare, the later game stuff. So if I'm really honest, I don't know. Okay, and then I made it. Okay, so this is kind of funny. I made 2 mods for Rule the Waves 2, like 2 big mods that had big gameplay changes. One of them was a auto resolve for combat, a simulator that basically allowed you to not play the tactical maps. And the other one I did was a mod that allowed the AI to go to war with each other, and then they would actually damage each other's ships, sink each other's ships. And the only 2 things that are of interest in Rule the Waves 3 are those 2 things. They're implementing my mods into the base game. They aren't. It's not associated with me at all. They're just doing their own thing. But I think that they realize that those are 2 meaningful parts of the game, or like worthwhile things to implement. So yeah, I'm not really interested in anything that they are doing with it. And that sounds so strange from a person who's like built his channel around Rule the Waves. But I think that Rule the Waves 2 will be nearly as enjoyable as Rule the Waves 3. And Rule the Waves 3 should be at least a superset, from the perspective that you'll get everything from Rule the Waves 2 when you get Rule the Waves 3. But is it something I'm anticipating and really looking forward to in 2023? No, not really.
Okay. Well, I mean, I do think one thing, obviously they've been, I don't know if they're acquired, but they're being published by Slytherin. And I think it's going to end up on Steam.
Oh, yeah, it will.
So I think that'll be one of those things where, like, as much as maybe it won't be adding for you, they're also going to be exposing themselves potentially to a much wider audience. Just, I know it's kind of Slytherin's not a huge studio. They're probably not going to put a ton of money behind any kind of marketing, but still, the fact that it's on Steam, previously you had to kind of buy it through NWS website, which is kind of like the back alley of game buying.
Their sales are going to go way up. It's true, just by going onto Steam, and it'll have a little bit of extra polish.
I agree with you though on that. Like, this game is not well suited. Like, air combat was not, I don't think, super interesting. I don't know that it was terribly well done. Like, this is a game about warships shooting their guns at each other. That's where it works for me. I think moving it forward 10 years actually works for me. Like, that's something I'm interested in. Although I guess you could get at the same stuff just by slowing the research and development down, which some folks do.
Yeah, a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
But like, it's gonna functionally, instead of Rule the Waves 1, which really was just about like the very end of the pre-Dreadnought era, and then like Dreadnoughts. That's what it was. It was Dreadnoughts. Is now you actually get like the whole pre-Dreadnought era as it's starting. And then you also get the transition to Dreadnoughts. So like, pre-Dreadnoughts have a purpose that isn't just they're going to be obsolete a couple of years after your game starts. So I think that's interesting to me. And I'm curious to see how that might play when I'm not like so incentivized on just holding off on building too much early.
True, I agree with you, actually. The first 10 years will probably be the most interesting part of it.
But yeah, I don't think the game does carrier combat terribly well. And I'm not super optimistic about missile combat. Like, when you're pushing ranges out like that, like, I don't know that the game is set up to do that. And I would much rather they have focused on things like giving you, well, and one of the other things that's interesting to me is sort of the order of battle control that they're going to be adding as well, where like you can create divisions and things like that.
Come on, at some point, Rule the Waves, like the end of Rule the Waves, the game is not very graphically intense. It's pretty, a lot of people would say that it's aesthetically unpleasing. So when you get to the point where you're doing missiles and stuff, why would anybody not just switch to Command Modern Operation at that?
No, that's fair. I think, but what I was trying to get at is, I think the division control that you're going to get in the game might actually make it more interesting to me, because hopefully you get better generated battles than kind of the shit show that is today.
That was another mod I was going to write, was a remap, a remod, or redo of the battle generator, but
are you mad they just didn't ask you to make the DLC, Tortuga?
Well, the thing is, you guys kind of know I was playing around with the idea of making my own game at some point, and I just felt like I was going to take all these things and kind of like redo something like Rule the Waves, but I think that they have a different focus. We interviewed him, right? We interviewed Frederick, and he said that his focus was always on the tactical level, and I think Rule the Waves, if you redid the game, if you designed it with the strategy first focus, basically he's more like the tactical battle focus, and I'm more like the total war system, where the tactical battles, you can resolve them if you want. The strategy is the more interesting thing. But it's just that's just a design decision. You can't fault him for, that's why the game is so good about simulating all those details, is because they've invested so much time.
Well, it's a direct successor to the Steam and Iron series, right? But not to like totally turn this into a Rule the Waves episode.
I want to go into one thing. Field of Glory Kingdoms.
That was on my list too.
Yeah, that's probably my number 3, by the way. I think that I really enjoyed Field of Glory. What was the first one called?
Empires.
Yeah, Field of Glory Empires was basically like a Total War game where you played most of it at the strategic level, but they had a way you could actually, if you had Field of Glory 2, you could play the tactical battles out. And I think that's something that people probably did like once or twice, and then never played the tactical battles again, because every tactical battle was like 4 hours, so it would seriously impede your progress in the main campaign if you were playing the tactical battles out. Anyway, I'm looking forward to Field of Glory Kingdoms, because I enjoyed Empires. That's do you know when it's coming out? I don't know much.
I don't know exactly, but I mean, I'm excited about it mainly because Empires didn't hit for me because I'm just not interested in the Roman Republic era anymore for whatever reason. And so Field of Glory Kingdoms is going to be the medieval era, which will be, more interesting to me, I guess. But I don't know when I'm looking at the Steam page right now. Just says coming soon.
Yeah, all these games on Steam just say coming soon. Every single game that I checked with right before this podcast said coming soon, so that didn't...
Hey, look, there's Tortuga. It says he's in game. Oh, okay.
What is this man playing during the pod?
But you are listed as wanting this game, so,
Well, you know what? Icarus is up. It's running. I need to make sure that I get... I mean, I leave this game running, like, pretty much all the time. This is more... The problem when you have no time is that you leave the game running, and then when you do have like 10 minutes of time, you're like, okay, quick, I just gotta go, and I don't have time to actually start the game, so I need to have it running for me, ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not your boss, Tortuga. You don't have to justify why you're working on the clock.
Do you remember Bruce from the original 3 Moves Ahead?
Yeah, Bruce Garrick.
I feel kind of like him, like where he doesn't have any time. I feel like my life is becoming a little bit more like his. I mean, I've listened to the 3 Moves Ahead, the very beginning podcast or episodes from their podcast, and I find myself identifying with the things he's saying. Like, yeah, that's how I feel. I don't have time.
I wonder what he's up to. I have not heard anything about or from him in quite a while. Anyway, so yeah, Field of Glory Kingdoms would definitely be on my list as well. Was that your number 3, I guess, or do you want to circle back to me or?
Oh, I don't think. I'm just free firing at this point. That was my number 3 probably, but I have some other ones I'd like to just briefly mention. We actually didn't talk about Shadow Empire with the naval DLC, even though it was mentioned. That was one of the ones I thought we should at least talk briefly about.
The one that you just said you're not excited about?
So I think Shadow Empire is like a really great game, and I don't know what this DLC will do. To me, it's because it's a DLC. It doesn't deserve as high of a heavily anticipated position because it's not a new game. And I don't think that this DLC is going to have that big of an impact. The problem with Shadow Empire is just it's such a darn good, but unfortunately extremely complex game that it does take a while to get into it. I don't know how the naval DLC will go. It'll probably take a little bit of time to get used to that one too. And I find that my free time is eroding very quickly lately since I just took on a new role, and so I'm not excited for things that I think will take a long time to learn. But I am like optimistic about it. I think Vic, everything he's done, I've really enjoyed. So I would still recommend people follow that, and if you like the original Shadow Empire, you're almost guaranteed to like it.
I guess another game I'm moderately looking forward to, and it's Company of Heroes 3. Even though I haven't played any of the other ones, I'm like, hey, that looks like something I may play.
Yeah, I played the original 2 Company of Heroes, the first one a lot more than the second. That one could be fun. I might have, I usually played against AI, like co-op versus AI, but it could be fun to get a few people together, play some co-op versus AI games.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be pretty cool. I like the setting. It's set in like Italy, I think, so I don't know if it's just Italy or if it like includes Sicily and North Africa, but yeah, looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say that was one of the games of the 15 I said that I'd be excited about. A couple others, I know we already talked about it, but I had Gunner Heat PC on my list. I think I already mentioned that. Tiny Combat Arena is another one that I have on my list, which again entered early access last year. It's like a kind of a pixel art style flight sim in sort of the old vein or whatnot. But I was hopeful that there was going to be more content about it this year than was available last year. I know the developer is it's like a one-man shop, right?
Right, I believe so.
He's been continually adding more content and features or whatnot, so I'm definitely following that. I haven't played it since, I don't know, the first couple of months it came out. In terms of like other games, I mean, do we think B-17 The Bloody 100th is going to come out this year? Is it supposed to?
That's on my list. And I was like, I don't know. I hope so. I feel like though they announced those games too early.
Microprose generally, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't think they've shared too much. They recently shared some screenshots and such, but
yeah, and they announced they kind of split the games again, or don't know if they split them, but like originally it was going to be, we're going to do B-17 the Mighty Eighth 2, right? And then it was kind of like, well, actually we're going to do a B-17 the Mighty Eighth, which is called the Bloody 100th.
Bloody 100th.
And then we're going to do a VR game.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever got a title.
And then they're also remastering the original B-17.
The Mighty Eighth.
Or B-17, the Mighty Eighth.
Yeah, so now they're remastering the original. They're making B-17 the Bloody 100th, which is like a new thing. And then they're, I think, making a VR game.
Yeah, I believe that's the case.
But then they also have another game that they're also making.
Bomber 3, right?
Bomber 3, which I guess is another remake, which was like, I think, an Apple II game or something like that.
Yeah, that one doesn't interest me as much, admittedly.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot. They're doing a lot to have not released anything yet.
Yeah, a lot of B-17 games. Which is cool. If they want to announce something early, just so I can have hope, go ahead and announce Silent Service 3. And that'll keep me satisfied for the next 3 or so years. That was on my list as well, obviously. Same with like Task Force Admiral. Like, it's been on my list, but I'm not sure if that one's coming out either.
Admiral posted in my most anticipated list because I made a comment about like, I don't know if this is really going to come out. He claimed in his post on my video that that it's coming out this year.
Ooh.
He's like, it sounds like he was like, yeah, we mentioned our developer diaries. And it's kind of like, whoa, okay. Sorry, didn't catch it. Dry Dock Dream Games comment said, thank you for the kind shout out. Yes, we do plan to release something at some point in 2023 for TFA. So something for some point is about as decisive as Wolfpack earlier in this episode.
Just to clarify, Second Front, it comes out January 31st.
Oh, well, my God. That's coming up quick.
Yeah, this year's getting better, isn't it, Tortuga?
This podcast probably won't even be out by then.
What was the date?
End of January.
It might be. I always have such high hopes, and then like a month and a half goes by, and then it's like, I guess I better edit this thing.
I got a few other titles to rattle off here. We saw early access for this one already, so I'm not going to talk much about it. Falling Frontier. It was kind of like that Banished type game. I liked it though. I mean, I didn't play it. I just saw videos of it. But I am making an active effort to limit the amount of early access games I play now. So hopefully play that one when it's in a more polished state. Frostpunk 2 is coming out.
That was on my list.
Oh, you have Frostpunk 2 on yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's coming out. And then, so I don't know really what to say about that. It's like this city builder type thing, but under extreme conditions where everyone's dying and freezing.
Yeah, it's like, can you keep the lights on, or is everybody going to freeze to death, basically, right?
Yeah, they make you make hard decisions, like starve to death, or yeah. There's so anyways, I'm going to move on to yet another one. Era History Untold looks like another Civilization type game. Then I want to shift over to one that I'm actually pretty interested in, and I'm actually going to ask you to talk about it, THG. This one in particular caught my eye. It's from your list, though. Great Houses of Caldera. I don't know much about it. I was hoping you could maybe talk a little bit more. That's why I'm buying you time by rattling on and on, so you can start thinking about what you're going to say.
Yeah, well, it's on my list. It's a game, it purports to be a game. It looks interesting to me. I guess I don't know a ton about it. I saw some snippets. I think they did a demo at one point for one of the Steam Fests a while back.
Well, let's take a step back. What kind of game? It looks to me kind of like a EU4 type thing. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's a strategy RPG. So like it kind of builds based on what I've seen. It seems to bill itself as kind of like a Crusader Kings type game where the focus is around like leading your family and your dynasty.
No, sorry, that's what I meant. I said EU4, but I meant CK3. It looks a little bit like CK3, but it's got that like kingdom builder feel to it. So
yeah, like it's definitely a game where it's it's a grand strategy game where you are trying to build your dynasty basically and expanding your kingdom at the same time. It's in like a fictional universe, so I can't say I know a ton about like this fictional world. But it just looks interesting. I don't know. I mean, it seems to be billing itself and marketing itself much more directly on like your family and the stories that you tell with your family and dealing with rival groups, if you will. while you try to build a dynastic power base. It claims Q1 of 2023, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds less promising then, considering we don't know much about it and it's going to be released in like 2 months or something.
I haven't spent a ton of time like looking into it either.
All right, well, someone else rattle off a few. I have just a couple more, but
I would say some of the other games on my list, nothing I want to talk a ton about, but there's a game called Builders of Egypt, which looks like it's kind of like a ancient Egypt city builder.
Is that the Pharaoh remake?
Yeah, that one looks fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it reminded me of Pharaoh's. I don't think it's a true, like, I don't think it's part of the same IP, but like it's the same idea. Oh, it's made by Playway.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a Builders of Greece too, so they're just going ham with the Builders of series, despite not having one out yet.
Well, it is also it looks like one of the companies listed here in the developer is the developer for World War II Rebuilder, which that comes out. Oh, did that come out today? I think it came out today, which was kind of like a very janky looking, almost like a power wash simulator type thing, but like you're fixing up Europe after World War II.
Yeah, that one did not interest me. I hate to say it.
No, it just looks like it's a jank sim. But like Builders of Egypt looks interesting to me.
Like Gas Station Simulator looks more interesting.
That was fun.
Yeah, I need to play that.
It's like stupidly fun.
I really should.
Anyway, so Builders of Egypt is on my list. You already touched on Frostpunk.
I got one. I'll just throw out two more here. I got something that looks like it's supposed to be a Spore-like remake. Something like Spore was. It's called Elysian Eclipse. So Spore was a very interesting game when it came out, very ambitious. It wasn't too well received either critically or I think from like the user base, but it's always been like an interesting concept to like evolve an organism. It's like the greatest civilization style game where you don't just start from like 2000 BC, you start from
single cell, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. I mean, I like the premise. We'll see how that goes. So it's a Spore-like game.
I have another one which I don't know that it's going to come out or not, but Nuclear War Simulator looks interesting to me. It's like I think a more spreadsheety, less visual ICBM type deal where like you've got to plan different nuclear attacks or whatever in much greater fidelity in terms of the simulation and in the event. It's also published by Slytherin. I don't know that it's going to come out this year. It almost looks like it's a mishmash of like, it's like the Rule the Waves of nuclear war games based on what I can see here.
Oh, I saw that. Isn't that a training simulation?
Yeah, I think they're marketing it as like I don't know, not like training for the military, I don't think. I think it's like a disaster response type, they're trying to like show different organizations or groups. Like, I'm sure they're not trying to tell the military how to launch nuclear attacks, but
yeah, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure they already know.
I don't know that they need that, but yeah.
Going out on a limb.
Well, maybe other militaries need training on this.
Oh, great. Here, Russia. Here, maybe you need an updated how-to guide.
Yeah, Dallas needs an extra 5 nukes.
But they kind of positioned it as like humanitarian type. Like these are, I don't know. It was kind of weird when I saw some stuff about it. It was almost like they were positioning it as like, hey, disaster response groups in different countries. Like, here's how like how a war would actually affect you, or like a nuclear detonation would actually affect you from like a humanitarian perspective. And then I'm thinking like, you're making this thing to sell to people as like a game, but like also it's, I don't know. It seemed a little weird.
Well, they should have a first-person version of it where you just experience nuclear war simulator.
Ooh, that sounds like an under.
It's just like that's the opening scene of Fallout 4.
I got one more that might be of interest. At least I think Wolf might be interested in this one. Something called Noble's Life: Kingdom Reborn. It looks like a base-building version of Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Ooh.
Hey, is there ever going to be a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2?
Yeah, they were talking about that. I was about to say that.
But this year?
I don't think that's supposed to come out this year or anything, but I know it's like in the works at least.
Do you? I feel like I've seen a bunch of like people are like, we think they're working on it, but like nothing's ever been confirmed.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought they confirmed it, but maybe I'm just senile, which is Very possible.
I don't know, there's just a bunch of like hype videos on YouTube where it's like, Kingdom Come 2, the final proof. Like, oh, okay.
This game looks kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it looks a little bit rougher around the edges, but I guess that's what you get when you have to be so ambitious as to try to include base building into a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh, it kind of looks Mountain Blade-esque, too.
Yeah, another good description. I mean, I don't know much about it. You might already know more about it than I do, based on 5 seconds of watching a video. Noble's Life, Kingdom Reborn. I just repeat it many times so that people who are listening to the podcast can write it down and look it up on Steam themselves. I'm empty. I got nothing else to say. I hope it's a great year. I forecasted from the very beginning of this podcast that it's going to be an amazing year, so.
The only other thing I'm looking forward to is whatever the IL-2 team cooks up. They're moving on to a new engine apparently. There's been some personnel changes, which is mildly worrisome, but I'm hoping, got my fingers crossed for like an IL-2 Korea setting because I want to fly my Saber around.
They're actually, the next IL-2 is just going to be like, all right, we're going to do the War Thunder thing.
I will cry. Actually, you know what? No, I will do actually nothing. I will just sit here. That would be very unfortunate if they go that route.
Hold your emotions inside. Don't ever show them to anyone. That sounds healthy.
That's what my therapist said. Just bottle that shit up.
Sounds like you might need a new therapist. Just don't let them see you cry.
Yeah.
Where's your degree from again?
Anyway, this has been fun. Sorry my game list was kind of mediocre, honestly. I mean, it's just I have the few games I'm really looking forward to, and that's about it.
No, I mean your game list was better than Tortuga's like I hate the world little monologue there at the beginning.
That was just a teaser. That was to get them interested, and then obviously you saw how interested I am in many titles coming up this year.
And look, this is a good way of story building. We saw Tortuga come in here so jaded. And I mean, you tell me, Tortuga, are you leaving this podcast with renewed hope in the gaming space?
Do you want my honest answer or my...
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yes. No, I think so. Yeah, no, I think that I just needed to reflect on all the good things in my life. Like the upcoming disappointment that's going to be... Wait, no, sorry.
Talk about your kids like that, Tortuga.
Manor Lords is everything. All my hopes rest on Manor Lords.
Oh gosh. I hope that game's good for Tortuga's sake.
By the way, have you guys seen Sailing Era? Looks interesting to me. It looks like it's like a JRPG Pirates. Trying to debate if I want to pick it up. It's actually already out, so if you are interested.
Well, I've been a little slap happy through this one, playing up the drama a fair amount, but I think that 2023, it may actually have the potential to Elysian eclipse 2022. I actually did like 2022 a lot, which is how I talked about it in our review podcast a bit. But, if Manor Lords comes out and it delivers, that may be like the best game of the 2020s for me.
Distant Worlds 2 must have really broke you.
Well, that is interesting. I should go back and try that one. We should probably do another podcast on basically like games that came out in 2022 that are worth revisiting. And that's one that I think I should revisit before I let people know if it's worth revisiting, but it's like worth checking out whether it's worth revisiting.
Yes. Yeah, no, I feel like there were a lot of games that came out last year that whether they were good, whether they weren't good, and I'm not talking about Distant Worlds in particular, but I just feel like there were a lot of games that kind of underwhelmed the hype. Like even Victoria 3 had some issues. Like it was my, one of my top games of the year. I really liked it, but like it definitely wasn't shy of areas that needed an improvement that kind of held it back from being truly great, I think. And that was a common theme, I think, for last year. It was just a lot of games that even the good ones just didn't quite hit.
I fully believe that this is kind of the way the game the game development scene has developed into. That from now on, we're probably going to expect a lot less real hits.
God.
Like at the delivery moment, because basically with early access, we're peeling back the point at which we're seeing the games. We're seeing them earlier and earlier, which means we're seeing them in less and less polished state. This is not me playing up the drama role. This is like my true thoughts on the state of the field is that early access will allow people to play games earlier, but it also allow people to play them in less polished state. So I don't know, it's going to confuse people too, because different developers have like varying amounts of talent. And you might see one game which, let's say if you saw two games at the same stage of development and they both look pretty raw, you might write both off the same way. But the thing is, the development talent and the persistence of the design team and all this, and how much the game evolves over the next 2 years, those two different games can take wildly different trajectories. But this is the way I feel about it, is I don't even know which games are going to be on the positive trajectory, and I don't have necessarily the patience to track every game and see which ones ended up being good after they were a little bit raw in my first view.
Yeah, I think that's the danger of early access, is people try something, get, disappointed by it, and then they never come back. Because there's nothing, once a game is out, and once you've bought it in any event, there's nothing to pull you back to ever try it again. So, like, as much as developers might benefit by getting money a little bit sooner to help fund them finishing the game up, that's sort of a double-edged sword, because you present the game in a state where it's not really probably as finished as you would like. Sure, you get a little bit of coin in your pocket, but then a lot of folks experience the game in a way that maybe they wouldn't have experienced it previously, and then you don't have any way to win them back. So, that may have impacts when you come back to release a sequel or another game down the road. I agree that like early access is kind of changing the experience. I don't know that 2022 was any kind of watershed in that, though, which is kind of interesting, because I didn't really feel that way about 2021. I guess we'll see what 2023 has in store. Hopefully it's good things. I don't know that I'm as excited as I was at the start of this episode. Hopefully on the aggregate we might be more enthusiastic, but I kind of brought me down a bit.
It's a zero-sum game, Somebody has to go up someone has to go down for someone to go up.
Well, I guess that's enough of us rambling about our lack of enthusiasm in some cases.
I just want to say I'm leaving this podcast more enthusiastic about the future, believe it or not.
Yes. All right, Wolfpack. Well, if you are the enthusiastic one, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast again. But two, for folks who may have missed the previous visits of you, where can folks find you? What do you want to pitch? Give a plug.
Oh man, I'm everywhere now. I got a TikTok, which I just got a comment on said TikTok. Y'all suck. So that's cutting me pretty deep right now. That's really tearing me up that I'm getting these hateful comments on that platform. But
look, Wolf, I'll delete it. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, please. I appreciate that.
Wait, Tortuga, were you the first comment on my video the other day of my top 5 upcoming games? It says, this guy is vaxxed. Holy frack.
Yeah, you know me. I mean, I don't have time to do much, but I definitely spend time commenting on people's videos.
Yeah, but I'm everywhere. I want to plug my Twitch. Okay, Wolfpack345 Live. Come on, hop on there for a fun time. I stream once a month, maybe. If it's a good month.
I was gonna say I'm all for plugging you streaming, Wolf, but like that's your least active place.
I got a big whiteboard. I put 2023 goals, and you know what's on there? Stream 2 times per week. So we're going to make it happen, Captain. You can also find me on YouTube, of course, but...
And I don't think I said at the start of the episode, that's Wolfpack345 on YouTube. Or didn't you have some, like, short form channel?
No.
Okay.
Not one that I want to plug. They can search for that one.
Easter egg.
Yeah. We'll drop little nuggets of where to find other content.
I see you pop into my Instagram feed every once in a while.
And you don't follow me?
Oh, I do.
Oh, okay, I was about to say. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I follow you with my real name. I don't have like a branded Instagram account. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks again for coming on, Wolf. Tortuga, I hope.
I'm just gonna say, I think Wolf brings the wolf up. The worst out in me.
Not the first time I've heard that one.
No, look at it. It's going to be a good year.
And yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming on. Episode number 77 of The Single Malt.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, thank you for keeping this episode on target.